Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, on behalf of the Executive Board, I welcome representatives of our national government, the provincial government, and several regional and local politicians, and also the Mayor of Maastricht, Mr. Onno Hoes. I give a warm welcome to representatives of foreign governments, a warm welcome also to members of our partner universities and our business partners, to representatives and guests of the Hustings Foundation, and of course a warm welcome to the members of our supervisory board. And to all of our Maastricht University staff and students, representatives of student clubs and study associations. To our alumni, graduates and ambassadors of our university, including many of our first-year students who are our special guests today. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this year's opening is Women in Academia, Change Ahead. During the symposium of this morning, we exchanged ideas with various professionals and experts on how to promote the climb of women through the ranks in academia and how to promote diversity. This afternoon, we are very honored that the keynote address will be delivered by Dr. Jennifer Barnes, Pro-Vice Chancellor for International Strategy at the University of Cambridge, who serves as an example of a successful woman in academia. Barnes has had an impressive career, from opera singer to president of an all-female college in Cambridge to a present executive role at Cambridge University. In keeping with tradition, this academic session, a number of prizes will be awarded by our Rector Magnificus, Luc Soete, and very specially another event. In 2016, our university will turn 40, but the first students began their medicine study in Maastricht exactly 40 years ago, even before the university was formally established. These first students will be honored later in the program. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a humbling experience to stand at this spot today, at the same spot where President Joachim Gauck of Germany stood just 2 days ago for his speech on occasion of the 200th anniversary of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. His message was clear. While the world around is in turmoil, while there is war and conflict in regions, while there is cause for concern about the stability of Europe, while there still is sorrow for the M17 victims, we need to stand behind our values. And we should be grateful of our achievements. And I think that was a very important message: living in peace, enjoying democracy, economic and societal stability. Maybe we should appreciate this more often. So please forgive me that today I will take you away from this grander scheme and use my time to look at some basic values of universities. My topic this year is quality, for a number of reasons. First and foremost, because this is the leitmotif of our current strategic program entitled Inspired by Quality, which now in 2014 has reached the midterm of its scope. And secondly, because quality has become a preeminent term in the current discussion on the Dutch higher education system. Quality of education and research, valorization and societal impact under scrutiny. And a number of reports have addressed whether we, as universities, do things right or should do things differently. Let me start on a positive note. If you look at the last academic year in particular, the Dutch universities have been doing well, for sure better than other sectors in the country. Our international reputation is excellent, our research is very successful, our education system remains attractive both to Dutch and international students, and our collaboration with the public and private sector is increasingly visible. And last but not least, our financial situation is healthy. Despite these positive effects, there's also increasing discontent about Dutch universities, also from within, by our staff and students. We must take this seriously. And some of these comments, that was backwards, so, are drowning in bureaucracy, over-regulation and control. There's also criticism about insufficient alignment between universities, negative press coverage about every incident, the fear of marketization or other izations, and skepticism about university autonomy. Why is that, and who is to blame? For some, there's an easy answer. It's me, or people like me, executive boards of universities that are sketched by some as power-hungry, non-academic, valorization fetishists. So what pictures come to mind, in your mind, if you think about these university executives? Cold-blooded managers or non-academic freaks? And what are the pictures? Is this the rector, Luc Soete? The vice president, Nick Boss? Or the president? And I have been picking up the phone like that. With all due respect, this explanation to look for easy culprits is far too simple and misses the point. The current identity crisis of the Dutch universities has many facets. I strongly believe that the issue at hand is more complex, and the basis is the mismatch between expectations from society and the soul-searching of academic institutions. I can only agree wholeheartedly with some of our critics that universities are no cookie factories and should not become a heaven for bureaucrats, and that we have to avoid selling our ideals. But universities are also no Shangri-La where funds fall from heaven. Isn't it understandable that the Dutch taxpayers and their representatives in Parliament, who finance the 14 universities in this country with currently 3.4 billion euros, 3,4 miljard, don't get your homes up, ask us what we do with their money and whether it's put to good use? The answer that we as academics know best, that everybody should trust us blindly and leave us alone, is, I'm afraid, not enough. This last year has seen many advice reports and opinions on these questions, ranging from the so-called IBO study, to the Manifesto from Science and Transition, to the letter of the CTOs of large Dutch companies, to a recently published OECD report. If I looked across these reports and statements, there appear to be three common concerns which put the continued quality of the Dutch higher education system at risk. A deficit of universities to adequately address present-time social challenges and define their role in society, a challenge to the principles of research and education and their quality, and a question mark about university autonomy and criticism of governance, overregulation, and bureaucracy. In short, while everybody agrees that things have been good or great in the past, there are worries and questions about the future and concerns by our academics about what has become of us, and if we leave our critics, marketing organizations, and camp followers in the place of knowledge institutions, that is what I define as a lack of self-esteem. I really dislike these generalizations. Let's therefore examine our own university before this backdrop, and let's do this with regard to the vision of our strategic program, which we have laid out 2 years ago. Inspired by quality. What are the key statements in this program? Number one, societal impact. We wanted to combine regional engagement with an international agenda from the so-called EU region to overseas. Leading economic, societal, and infrastructural development in Limburg, together with our partners in the public and private sector. Research, focusing on societal challenges, but also doing good fundamental research and interdisciplinary research, as well as clustering. Education, we want to remain an innovator in the educational process, combining problem-based learning with the international classroom as the most international Dutch university. And organization, we want to be an employer that fosters personal development of staff and students alike, decentralized yet with a common strategy. Quite a mouthful of promises. But how have we done so far? So let's do some quality assignment. So first, societal impact. Regional and societal engagement is important to us. To further this strategic goal we have, together with our main partners, the Maastricht University Medical Center Plus, Zuid University of Applied Sciences, and last not least, the province of Limburg, set up the Knowledge Axis, a long-term collaboration where we jointly invest. And there are also many important players from outside this knowledge institution, namely from the regional sector, such as DSM, SABIC, and APG, that collaborate with us. The knowledge access was a promise, but now it has become a reality. I am very happy to report that the first 4 projects of this program have been funded by our partners and us to further our common goal to make our region more attractive in many aspects. And this is what I call the knowledge access formula. We want to stimulate healthy growth by looking for a vital population and also use triple helix campus initiatives as the culmination points of this development. And the first projects, they are not only focusing on economic direct return of investment, but also at societal return of investment. And I give you 2 examples. Movare, the Healthy Primary School of the Future, is a long-term project to investigate the effects of a structured program of healthy fooding and sport on the prevention of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and obesity, as well as socio-economic well-being in a region of our province which is less well off. A project that with our partners combines societal challenges which once has been labeled in a province which has been labeled as unhealthy, the most unhealthy region of the Netherlands. And we do this also in collaboration with a lot of schools in this area as a joint effort. The Limburg Educational Agenda is a program to streamline education, and also here we've involved not only Maastricht University, Fontes Applied Science University and Zuid University of Applied Science, but also school boards of primary, secondary, and vocational institutions. The aim is to reduce mismatches in the choice of study programs and profession, increase the quality of teacher training, attract motivated students, decrease the gap between educational science and practice, and optimize the effectiveness of educational improvements. There are also other plans for the future, and together with a number of new knowledge partners, such as Fontes, the Higher Agraric School, and the Technical University of Eindhoven, and here in Maastricht, particularly the Maastricht School of Management, to go on in this triple helix spirit. Now, let me say something about the quality of research. Maastricht University has, as one of the 3 so-called young universities, one of the lowest amounts of fixed funding for research. In all fairness, our research performance has to be evaluated against this background. Because of this, our research output has been lower, traditionally lower than those of older, more established institutions. Nevertheless, it should be pointed out, while we score low on a Dutch average, our European research fund success is on the contrary on the rise, and not only above the Dutch average, but significantly above the European average. And this has led about 153 projects that were granted in 2013 with a total net worth of 16 million. So I think, again, we see a positive development. Our strategy in creating a stimulating research environment is twofold. First, we have decided to build up focus and to expand on peaks in alignment with the recent recommendations by the Dutch Advisory Council on Science and Technology. With the recruitment of 3 university professors, all of them world leaders in their fields, Clemens van Plitterswijk, Peter Peters, and Ron Heeren, and their groups, together with the Maastricht University Medical Center Plus, we have made a major step forward in further developing areas of excellence in imaging, regenerative medicine, and tissue engineering, as well as molecular diagnostics. But commitment to an attractive research environment also calls for supporting our own upcoming talents. And we talked about this in the context of our morning symposium extensively. This will ask for a review of our HRM policy, not only focusing on female careers, which was the topic of today, but on talents as a whole. In terms of research development, we have also fostered internal talents in a number of large-scale cooperative projects that bring together researchers from different faculties, such as Maximite and Eat Well, to projects that are flourishing already, have provided additional grant income and many publications. Now, let's talk about education as a third quality check, leading in learning. Much has been said about the boldness of the slogan, and not everybody likes it. What I like about it, that it can be interpreted in so many ways, and what it also means that as an organization we need to learn and adapt. And that's what we do. It goes without saying that as a university, which is almost 40 years old, we need to review and renew our approach to education. And we have taken a number of decisions to do this. Number one, I think we have to invest in the current education process. It's completely senseless to always do new things without forgetting that the people who are already there need to have more input and time to do their things right. And this is something that we also should address. Then we need to think, is our problem-based learning system still up to date? Should we go for something that we call PBL 2.0? The international classroom is an important project that needs to continue. Also, we are currently, on proposal of the University Council, looking into also having a university professor of education or learning at this university. And then we have termed something which is called the Maastricht learning experience, because learning is more than problem-based learning. It's the whole environment. It's, in fact, what we do together with the city and with our region. And, of course, two projects I would to mention. MIAS, the Maastricht Institute for Advanced Studies, which looks into new technologies to improve the learning process and the education process, and EdLab. EdLab will in the near future be housed at the new Tepine campus. It will serve as a meeting place for students and staff who will be facilitated to initiate and disseminate innovative ideas to expand UM's leading and learning principle. Educational quality is to remain the core theme of this university for the next years and for the future strategic program of this university, which we expect to launch in our anniversary year 2016. But the Maastricht learning experience also has its needs outside university walls, as the student experience in our city must be part of a holistic approach to be an attractive place. In this context, the creation of a student and a city portfolio, which is the responsibility of Mieke Damsma, one of the city's aldermen, has been a major advantage for us to further the strong links between university and the city of Maastricht, to achieve the goal to build Maastricht further as a university city. Jennifer Barnes, of course, we are far from having the reputation of Cambridge as a university city, but given the age difference between our institutions, we have a few hundred years to make it up. Of course, there's also reason for concern, one should say, and I also dislike if you always bring along good news. But I will bring some more good news, and that's the quality of the university education system. We were very happy that the system was evaluated by the Dutch-Flemish Education Organization in 2013 by obtaining institutional accreditation, and we were under the impression that this would lead to an adapted Leiter protocol for the accreditation of our study programs. You know, these are some comments from this report. The university has developed an impressive planning and control cycle which does not only exist on paper but is fed by information from both the central and faculty level. And the panel was convinced that the university has developed both the necessary procedures and the adequate tools to improve the quality of its programs. I think this was wonderful news. What we did as an executive board, you remember it, we ordered 1,000 cakes to distribute among all our employees to celebrate. But then, what is this? This is a movie, yeah? No, there are more accreditations that followed, and not all of them was positive. And the Dutch Humanities evaluation posed questions about many of these programs in the country, also in Maastricht. Let me be very clear. We accepted that some of these criticisms were correct, but we also were surprised by the recommendations in several other cases. Let us look at the Bachelor of Arts and Culture as an example. This is what this panel evaluated: staff, guidance and evaluation, teaching methodology, curriculum, general aspects, and examination. And all of these were really evaluated positive, even the part of the examination methods. But you see that's the red one, the saying the assessment process of the final paper calls for improvement. And this negative vote would then put a negative shadow on the whole program. Let me be clear, this is not taken lightheartedly and a lot of work, and I'm thankful that the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences has implemented a recovery program, and that will be put into place, and then we are very confident that we'll receive the final accreditation in 2 years. But you know this Dutch saying, if you get a shave, you better sit still. This is a Dutch humanities dean's getting a shave. We have to take a challenge to respond to criticism. That's an academic principle. Peer review also calls for feedback on the review process itself. This is a necessary element of the self-quality control of universities. The Dutch humanities deans have already responded to that in the following way. The faculties take the results of this last round very seriously. However, it was also determined by all concerned that the recent reviews require a detailed evaluation. The clusters of the programs involved turning out to be too large and heterogeneous, leading to a lack of necessary knowledge within the review committees and an emphasis on the procedures and organizational aspects of the programs. From the program's perspective, more content discussions between direct colleagues are desired. So these are very clear and collegial recommendations. And let me add a few comments of our own executive board that should enter the future discussions with the accreditation agency, and these will be put forward by our rector, Luc Soete, but they're really on behalf of the whole board. And some of concerns, what is really the value of institutional accreditation? You know, there has been a discussion in a neighboring country whether this should be really the core and key element that we should follow. What are the costs and the bureaucracy of accreditation? What are the effects on the primary process? All the measures that have to be installed in our faculty also put a lot of burden on the primary process. What is the quality assessment of the evaluation boards? What is the process orientation? And I think also, as a university that is dedicated to problem-based learning, and as you know, our faculty FASOS has an excellent track record in producing professionals, academic professionals, getting jobs. This has to be approached. What is really the special role of problem-based learning? And I think, I cannot reiterate more, the need for dialogue. Academics need to go in a dialogue. That's the peer review process. If you get a revision, even if it's a major one, this is done in the common spirit to improve quality as a responsibility of our own. Now, the fourth quality check is about our organization, our university as an organization. As I said in the beginning of my talk, Dutch universities are faced with the paradox that we seem to do well on all kinds of parameters, but there's discontent with us from the outside world, but also from the inside. As I said earlier, there are a number of factors at the base of this. One is the increasing apprehension about university autonomy. But everybody seems to agree that this has been a great thing in the past. There are questions whether we need more control, more applied research, more topical management of research themes. Especially in this context, I would say that autonomy of universities is to be preserved. But at the same time, we have to realize that the price for autonomy is to take responsibility to make clear why our research is important, responsibility as a stable employer in a changing economic environment. I recently have seen that the Maastricht University, Medical Center, and University are the biggest, or some of the biggest employers in this region of South Limburg. Responsibility is very important. We also need to prepare our students to take responsible roles as professionals. We therefore need to be open, while at the same time it must be clear that we as academics must remain responsible for the freedom of research and the quality of education. We also must not be complacent on discussions around differentiation and profile development, internationalization and science vision. No, we must take an active role in it before others tell us what to do. A good example is the recent proposal on the internationalization policy, which was worked out together by some people from the applied science sector and the university sector. I had the privilege to work in this group, and this now has been handed over to the ministry, and they have been surprised that we are in fact possible and able to do this as a sector together. I think we should do more than this, more of this, and more than this. Well, let's look back at our strategic program, what we say about our organization. Teaching, research, and support services are located within the faculties. with support service shared as much as possible. The dean, and I should add the faculty board, is responsible for all aspects of running a faculty. The primary role of the executive board is to facilitate the faculty so they can carry out their task as optimal as possible. But also, I should add, in the roller coaster ride of Dutch higher education financing, we at Maastricht University have to realize that while we have grown in many fields, we also have lagged behind in some fields. And you can see here a statistic over the last year that student numbers have grown, research funding has grown, PhD numbers have grown, yet our scientific staff has by and large been stable. The reason for this was cautious politics, because we weren't sure about our financial. But I think this gap, and we have had this morning a discussion on why are there not enough female professors. We talked about the leaky pipeline. So, you know, you start out with a lot of students and there's a lot of assistant professors, and then when you are at the board level, then it becomes less and less. And this is also a leaky pipeline, and we have to do something about it. We also must take clear actions for the needs of our students with the introduction of the Sociaal Leenstelsel and additional funds that are returned to universities. It's our responsibility to invest them in education, in better education. This will be an important topic in our discussion with the University Council, the Supervisory Council, and the university as a community. Let me end by coming back to the beginning of my speech. The question about a taboo in universities, leadership, and how we are steering this process. At our university, we as executive board do certainly not recognize us in the caricatures that I have shown at the beginning, but we are supporters of the principle of collegial candor as proposed by Jeffrey Buller. What is this? I think it's our task to create a working environment in which individuals feel free to provide their perspectives and understand that you will agree or disagree based on the argument's merits. Fostering an environment where the overall mission of the institution, rather than the personal convenience of its individual members, is the guiding principle behind all deliberations. I should add on a personal note, there is no need, in my view, for alternative events. These discussions belong in the middle of the university, and I would like to invite the university community to lead the discussions from the middle and not from the periphery. We are committed to modern participation and consensus building, and not in top-down decisions at all costs. And I feel in my role often not as a president, but as the General Secretary of the United Nations of Maastricht University. I should also add, with all respect, that this University Executive Board, Luc Soete, Nick Bos, and I are not considering ourselves as somebody who came from outer space, and you know, I came from Berlin, that's not that far away, who jumped here into this university, but we are academics who have risen to the ranks and are very much try to be grounded in university. And I must, if I must use the term leadership here, I'm most sympathetic to the term horizontal leadership. And I've tried, I think, to be politically correct with the football shirts here, which is a big task. Queen said horizontal leadership, or vertical leadership, that's that. It's like command and control. It's going one way, top down. Horizontal leadership is best practice through trust. And trust is bilateral. You have to be good at trusting and being trusted. Leader is not a permanent attribute. It is a mindset, skill set, role that is played at a given time by a given person who the next day must play equally well the role of follower. So let me end by this, and some of you know I'm very much into the idea of the academic community in a university. So let me end with this cover photo of our new yearly report. This is us, a good image. Diversity, we're standing together. We try to take our responsibility as an organization, but also as honest partners with collaborators internationally and in the region. So I would say thank you for your attention, and be the force with you? No, with us. Thank you.